Hello there and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and it's my privilege to be your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming, and to be your guide on your personal journey to Chap Nirvana. Now, the summer has arrived at long last, and as such it's time to put away those seasonal warmer garments, you know, your scarves and your overcoats and your hats and gloves. Not for long, mind, because in October the winter and the autumn surely will be back, but in the intervening period, in the summer, in the warmth, it doesn't feel that warm today here in England, but you know, that's the pleasures of living in a temperate climate. You never really know what the weather's going to do, but I know for sure that good weather is just around the corner, as it's June. And as I say, when we put our traditional clothes away, your shoes, as you can guess, the topic of today's conversation, are perhaps thrust more into the limelight. Because, you know, as you reduce the quantity of clothing that you wear, the layers that you wear, it means there is less sartorial of your elegance on display. And as a consequence, your shoes, as I say, are thrust into the limelight. They get more attention because most likely you'll only be wearing a shirt and a pair of trousers, or maybe shorts, depending on how warm it is. And those shoes are going to have more of a starring role even than normal. But it doesn't mean, just because it's warm again, that you've got to put away your classic and your traditional footwear. It just means you've got to be a little bit more, perhaps, experimental about the materials of the shoes that you wear, or you bring out a different type of classic and, you know, traditional footwear which matches the summer climate a little bit better. So today I'm going to talk to you about my 4 summer seasonal shoes that I wouldn't be without. I have done a video like this previously, but I only recommended 3 types of shoe before. And as ever, as any intentionally well-dressed man should be, you've got to be prepared to evolve. And I've added a new pair of shoes into my regular rotation. But not only that, some of the shoes which I've previously been wearing, I've swapped out for other types, which are even better, in my opinion. So I'm going to talk you through my choices of summer shoes today. Now, my first choice for a summer shoe is perhaps one of the more formal shoes that you might wear at any time. It's the brogue. But I think the leather brogue is very emblematic of the well-dressed man, but perhaps with a more classical outfit, you know, with a suit maybe, or with a blazer and, you know, grey flannel slacks. It seems a little bit incongruous with the lighter tones and the lighter materials which are worn in the summer months. However, a slight alteration to the material of the shoe puts an entirely different perspective on it. And here you see I have a brown suede full wingtip brogue, which again, it just alters the look of the shoe. In fact, I've added a pair of red laces to these to reduce even more the level of formality. Particularly good trick that. If you've got a pair of shoes and you're kind of fed up with them, or you wish to reduce the level of formality, swap out the laces. It's a great little way of altering the look of the shoe entirely. But suede is the perfect material for summer. It is light, it is naturally breathable, and it's also very practical for the summer months. You know, if you imagine in the summer there's lots of dust on the roads and things like that, well, suede is so easily just brushed clean every day. There's no need for time-consuming mirror shining or polishing or anything like that. All you need is a stiff brush, run it over the shoe, and it's back to perfect. So suede for me, very much the material for the summer months. Now, this particular brogue I have here, this shoe is probably, I'm going to say, the oldest in my collection. I know it to be at least 25 plus years of age, because I bought this shoe in Germany when I was serving in the military over there, and I bought it in a sale. It didn't even cost me a lot of money. It's a leather-soled shoe, The manufacturer now is long lost because you know, the emblem of the manufacturer has worn off the interior of the shoe. But believe it or not, I get this shoe out every summertime. I dust it down and it gives sterling service on those days where I want to wear, you know, a pair of khaki coloured chinos. And I just want to raise my game. I don't want to look too informal, but the full wingtip allows the shoe to look entirely comfortable with more formal situations. So for me, suede, definitely the material of the summer months, coupled with a wingtip brogue, is the perfect high-low combination. Sort of high level of formality with the wingtip, low level of formality perhaps with the suede material, and it's a perfect combination. Okay, now my next shoe is one which is possibly going to be a bit more controversial, because I know when I've previously done my summer shoe selection in videos, the white leather sneaker elicited quite a few negative responses from the more traditional gentlemen. But I think most of us will agree that over the last few years, the last generation of men's style, white leather sneakers have firmly ensconced themselves in the clothing lexicon of the well-dressed summer chap. And for good reason. I mean, leather is a good sturdy material, good solid fabric material, naturally breathable, of course, yes it is. And when it's coupled with an athletic sneaker or a training shoe such as this is an Adidas Continental. It's quite an old-fashioned shoe, still in production, still very popular in the summer months. But that leather gives it a level of wearability, even for a middle-aged man such as myself, in the summer months, because it's informal enough, because it's a sneaker, a training shoe, to be worn with shorts, for instance. With a no-show sock, it's the perfect friend for your shorts. But also, it can be worn with chinos, absolutely, yes, in the informal settings of the summer months, maybe a barbecue at a friend's backyard or something. But also, you know, you could even wear it with jeans if you are such a casual chap that you wear denim jeans from time to time. But the leather sneaker in white is actually a very practical and wearable shoe in the modern world. Now, of course, some tips for you here. When you're buying a leather sneaker, particularly in white, get as minimal a shoe as you can. As you know, certainly you want to stay away from logos and emblems which identify the shoe from others. You know, you don't want any brash colours on there, nothing gauche. You want as few sort of swooshes and go faster stripes as you can find. Basically, the more basic the leather sneaker, the better it's going to look, the more versatile it is going to be with other clothing. I don't wear it that often in the summer months because there are other options on the table here which I'll talk about in a moment. But for sure, you know, the white leather sneaker has a place in my shoe wearing rotation in the warmer months. And don't forget, just because it's a training shoe doesn't mean to say you shouldn't look after it. Keep a shoe tree within it to maintain the integrity and the shape of the shoe, and it's leather. That means it needs to be conditioned from time to time. So get some leather conditioner on there. It will make it look better and stay nice and sparkly white with plenty of cleaning from time to time. It'll last for year after year. So yeah, try a white leather sneaker. Okay, right, so my next suggestion is a new addition to my shoe wearing rotation for 2022 summer months, and that is a canvas deck shoe. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with this shoe. It's the eponymous Vans shoe, and this has come into my atmosphere over the last year thanks to my young son. I've got a 12-year-old son called Alex, and he is a bit of a sneakerhead, to be perfectly honest. I think he's a chip off the old block, but you know, in the younger world, it's all sneakers, isn't it? And training shoes. And he wears Vans because he's a fan of the old skater boy look and all that sort of thing. And I was with him in an outlet store not too long ago, in an outlet village where there were lots of stores selling off products quite inexpensively, and he bought a pair of Vans shoes. And I saw a pair which were, you know, merely this pair, 25 British pounds, and I thought, you know what, for that price I'm going to give them a try. I'm always looking for something new which will add a different perspective to my my clothing. And I purchased this pair, and as you can see, it's a fairly straightforward pair of shoes. It's got the sort of rubber sole, very basic, and the canvas upper is in a sort of an olive green colour with just some detailing in white with a white lace. Quite simple, clean, and actually I'd go as far as to say an elegant shoe. And I have found it to be eminently wearable in exactly the same situations that I would typically wear the white sneaker. But this brings a different perspective again at an incredibly modest amount of money. Also, I would say, very comfortable. I'm quite happy to walk around in this for a number of hours. And, you know, again, they come in all different colours depending on your personality and the style that you seek to bring into your attire. I've gone for a kind of neutral olive green, which can be worn with practically any colour. You know, it goes great with khaki chinos, with navy chinos, anything you like. Shorts even. Again, another pair of shoes which with a no-show sock is perfect accompaniment to a pair of shorts. But a little bit more stylish than perhaps some of the other options which are out there. And again, an ideal shoe for the summer months. It's canvas, it is naturally breathable, and the rubber sole makes it quite steady on the feet as well. Of course, they're designed as deck shoes originally, where one would be clambering around on the wet deck of a yacht, and you want something which offers fairly good purchase. And in a previous life of mine, when I was heavily into offshore sailing, I remember owning a few fair pairs of canvas and rubber deck shoes, and they worked a treat in such a situation because, as I say, very sure-footed, but also because they're canvas, when they get wet they dry swiftly with no issues at all. So for me, I'm enjoying this pair of Vans deck shoes that I picked up for only £25. Looks quite stylish, takes a different dimension to the clothing, and yeah, it's working out well for me. Now, my fourth and final choice for my summer shoe rotation is the Suede Chukka boot, because the Suede Chukka boot has been around for, well, probably over 100 years at this point in some form or another, and the modern iteration absolutely can be dated back to the end of the middle of the Second World War, when this boot here in particular, this is the Clark's original desert boot, was brought into service for service personnel who were finding their military issued boots a bit cumbersome and unwieldy and impractical in the western desert situation. So this boot was identified as being worn by individuals in that part of the world, and they were commissioned by one of the Clark's family who brought them back, and they ended up going into mass production. And to this very day, the Clark's Desert Boot is an absolute staple of many men's shoe collections, and certainly in the summer months, where suede is the order of the day, as I said earlier, it's an ideal shoe or boot for many reasons. Now, the name Chukka comes from, well, it's believed to derive from the game of polo, because Chukka is the term used for a period of gameplay in the game of polo. So we make an assumption that that's where it's come from. There's no hard and fast history which suggests that's the case, but certainly it comes from the backstory of the British Empire and its exploits around the world. Now, most Chukka boots have many common components. So for sure they will be made of suede or often calf skin. But suede is the preferred material because most of them will be made of unlined suede, which is important because it makes them very light, very easy to wear, very breathable. Suede, it's a natural material after all. It was breathable when it was on the back of the animal, which was the kind donor for us to make these boots out of, so it remains breathable for us when we wear it afterwards. And it's a very simple boot as well, you will notice. They're normally of low ankle height, never any higher than that. There will either be 2 or 3 eyelets, making it very simple, easy to slip on and off. Most desert boots are made of only 2 parts, or 2 pieces of leather. It's the front part, which is called the vamp, and the rear part, which are called the quarters. So relatively simple to construct as well. And yeah, it's an all-round good shoe. Now the sole is traditionally either made of a thin leather or, as in this case, a crepe. Crepe is coagulated latex byproduct, and it's very soft, very yielding, very comfortable to wear. You can wear these all day and they're very easy. If you're walking around a lot, you know, very easy to walk around in. So the Clark's original desert boot, without doubt, it is, I've been told, and I've read many times, this is the most commonly encountered chukka boot in the world. And I absolutely would agree with that. This is what you see, very popular in the UK and other Commonwealth nations, and creeping in their popularity around the world also. Now, if you think that's a little bit too casual for you, of course, there are other manufacturers other than Clark's, and they will make their own version, maybe slightly better, might be slightly different take on the chukka boot. Now, the one I have here is a chukka boot made by fine British Northamptonshire manufacturer called Cheney. Now, Cheney is a family company. I've been to the factory, I've been to the factory shop. Their shoes are some of the best in the world, and I think they're at a fairly approachable price point, a little bit cheaper than some of those, you know, Church and Crockett and Jones prices, but just as good in every sense. And they make this beautiful, I believe it's called a Jesmond chukka boot, as you can see, and it has all of the qualities which we expect to see in a standard chukka boot. Ankle height, 2 eyelets, made of suede, simple 2-piece construction with a leather sole, and it is unlined suede, which again makes it so easy to wear in the summer months. But this one is a little smarter than that Clark's one, because we've done away with the crepe sole and we've moved over to a nice leather sole, which adds a certain level of formality. Of course, it's also Goodyear welted construction, which means that when that sole gets worn through, it can be easily replaced, giving this boot a lifespan potentially in the decades, particularly if you only wear it in the summer months. Now, I think the suede chukka boot is that middle ground between the formality, perhaps, of the suede wingtip and the informality of, say, the white sneaker or even the desert boot, because the suede chukka boot in this particular style, and of course you can have any number of colours because suede can be dyed in any colour you choose, and there are many different colours out there. You know, this gives you a nice middle ground. So if you're wearing a nice pair of trousers, for instance, maybe a pair of, you know, khaki coloured chinos, and you don't want to look too formal, you think the wingtip is a little bit too much, this is an ideal boot to wear because it just brings you into that summer vibe, but keeps an element of formality. You know, and one of the unusual characteristics of the chukka boot, perhaps more so with the desert boot version, is they're one of the few boots which actually can be worn readily with shorts. Now, they were originally worn by soldiers in the Western Desert while wearing shorts, and they look equally as good with shorts in the modern world. So if you're on holiday somewhere rather warm and you're setting out for a day, but you want to wear a good pair of sturdy footwear because you're going to be trekking and, you know, spending hours on your feet, yet you want to wear shorts, the desert boot or the chukka boot may be the way to go. So there we go, folks. Those are my 4 choices for the summer footwear that I shall be sporting in 2022. I hope you've enjoyed the video. You may have some observations. You might think I've missed something glaring off the table. You might think, well, whilst you've said what you are going to wear, what wouldn't you wear? Well, that's easy, gentlemen. I would not wear anything which exposes the toes or the feet, because I think life is too short to have to look at men's feet. It's not an attractive thing, particularly some men who have, you know, hairy feet like a hobbit, or, you know, toenails like the talons of a griffin. I think they're best kept under wraps. Certainly, you will never find me wearing a pair of flip-flops, a pair of Crocs, or any number of various sandals which a gentleman can choose. I prefer to go a little bit classical, a little bit more traditional, and what you see on the table is what you will find me wearing in these coming summer months. So if you have enjoyed the video, please do us a favour, give me a thumbs up. If you like this material, go ahead, click the red button, join me on the journey towards Chap Nirvana as a subscriber. If you'd like to practically support the channel, of course you can do that by buying me a coffee. You will find a link to the Buy Me a Coffee page in the show notes below. So until the next time, wear your summer shoes with pride and passion, and I will see you again very soon.